Hello and welcome to CNN News. I'm your host Matt Katatic, and today's top stories. The end of an era for Japan as Shinzo Abe resigns after 8 years as Prime Minister. Novichok strikes again as Alexei Navalny is poisoned with the Russian-made substance. Brazilian freedom of speech is under threat as the son of President Bolsonaro expresses his desire to classify communist symbolism as hate symbols. We have a somewhat authoritarian system. Belarusian President Lukashenko proposes creating a new constitution less reliant on the president. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has resigned after 8 years as Prime Minister, citing health concerns. The 65-year-old is Japan's longest-serving Prime Minister and is renowned around the world for his Abenomics. However, the outgoing Prime Minister has been criticised by many over his response to the coronavirus pandemic. Those close to Mr. Abe, like Chief Cabinet Secretary Yoshihide Suga or Deputy Prime Minister and Finance Minister Taro Aso, are not necessarily the most popular among voters, as his administration has faced criticism for its handling of the pandemic. Announcing his resignation at a news conference, Mr. Abe spoke without the use of a teleprompter, which is unusual for him. Rather than addressing prepared questions, the Prime Minister mostly took questions from the press that attended, and civilians as well. Mr. Abe said that he would firmly execute his duty to the end until a replacement is chosen to contest next year's elections. Russian opposition leader Alexei Navalny has been poisoned by the Russian nerve agent Novichok. Navalny was flown to Germany after a short stay in hospital in the Russian city of Omsk. The German government's announcement on Wednesday that Navalny has been poisoned by a sophisticated nerve agent known as Novichok makes this case even more serious than it already was. Most importantly, it will increase suspicions that, despite its denials, the Russian state was behind his poisoning. Novichok, meaning newcomer in Russian, applies to a group of synthetically produced nerve agents originally developed by the Soviet Union in a laboratory in what is now Uzbekistan, before the USSR dissolved in 1991. Western intelligence agencies believe that Novichok has since been refined into a hard-to-detect assassination weapon in covert techniques practiced by operatives of the GRU, Russian military intelligence, including being smeared onto door handles. The most dangerous aspect of Novichok is that it can be both deployed in liquid and solid forms, making it easy to sneak into someone's drink or food. Two of these operatives were widely believed to have poisoned the Russian defector Sergei Skripal and his daughter in Salisbury in 2018 using the same substance. A local Wiltshire resident, Dawn Sturgis, subsequently died after handling the contents of the discarded perfume bottle used to disguise the nerve agent. Freedom of speech in Brazil is under threat as Brazilian congressman and president's son, Eduardo Bolsonaro, wants to introduce prison sentences for the production, sale or distribution of the hammer and sickle and five-pointed star imagery, classifying it as a hate symbol. Bolsonaro Jr. introduced his bill on Tuesday, September 2nd, in commemoration of the invasion of Poland by Nazis and later communists. The congressman said that the idea behind the potential law is to quote-unquote prevent genocides, which are the result of Nazism and communism, just as the penal code criminalizes the murder of an individual. And he even wants the punishment to be comparable to one for a serious crime, from 9 to 15 years in prison. Bolsonaro's legislative effort also includes a plan to rename any public places or institutions currently bearing the name of communism or Nazism-related persons, events, or even ideas. Bolsonaro Jr.'s project came on the heels of him causing a diplomatic conflict in March between Brazil and the People's Republic of China. The lawmaker called the Communist Party's ruler dictatorship and blamed it for the COVID-19 pandemic. Both the congressman and his father, Jair Bolsonaro, are outspoken anti-communists, along with the crux of their respective parties, the Social Liberals and the Alliance for Brazil. This fact has notably increased tensions between the country and some of its neighbours, like Cuba and Venezuela. Eduardo Bolsonaro even attached some anti-communist materials to his bill announcement on Twitter. One gruesome photo got some extra attention. Bolsonaro claimed they were the starved victims of the Holodomor, a mismanaged famine which happened in Soviet Ukraine in the 1930s. Alexander Lukashenko, the president of Belarus, has finally begun to crack under the pressure as he suggests that Belarus needs a political system that is not tied to the head of state. Lukashenko's statement comes as the country begins to work on a third version of the constitution, rejecting the opposition's idea to return to the original from 26 years ago. Speaking to Chairman of the Supreme Court Valentin Sulako, Lukashenko claimed that the country's political system is somewhat authoritarian and asked that the new constitution moves away from a reliance on the head of state to make sure that the system is not tied to an individual, including himself. According to the president, the Belarusian opposition often mentions reforming the country's political system, but nobody talks about what changes they actually want, he said. Lukashenko also rejected calls to return to the 1994 constitution, maintaining that the nation should move forward instead of looking back. Once the draft is finished, the document will be made public for open discussion, enabling Belarusians to express their opinion about the proposed changes. Following the August 9 presidential election, in which the incumbent received a reported 80% share of the vote, Lukashenko promised to develop a brand new constitution since the election. Belarusians have taken to the streets in their masses to protest the disputed results, believed by many to be rigged. On Sunday, tens of thousands of demonstrators gathered in Minsk for the third weekend in a row. That has been all the news. All information is correct as of the 2nd of September 2020. I have been your host, Marko Tasic, and thank you for watching CNN News. Good night.